this is Nikolai, and right now we're going to go over and cover, since we've discovered 5 of the 6 main races, we are going to go over and cover them all, and maybe their relations with one another as well. We might go over and cover Argon last because they got a pretty huge backstory. Well, we can start out with them right now before we get into their huge backstory, but the Argon are basically humans from the planet Argon Prime. Boron, the Boron are basically a squid race, a squid-like race that they are generally peaceful. Their ships are typically weak in terms of shielding and laser energy, but they have some pretty powerful weapons, especially capital weapons like the ion cannon. A split are kind of humanoid, but they kind of have like longer heads and I think scales. They are a really aggressive race, borderline warmongering. The Paranid, they're like three-eyed bug-like or reptilian-like race. They are basically a race of holy crusaders, as seen many of the priests are. I use that way. And then there's the Teladi, which they are a neutral race that they are basically humanoid lizard space Jews, as that is the best term I can pretty much come up with them. They are typically well known for their marketing. Their capitalistic skills, and they are actually my favorite race because well, they're just awesome in general. They just love profit so much. There's definitely quite a bit of racism in regards to them as being greedy and whatnot. But they're still quite an awesome race, and their ships are really built for like trading and whatnot. Anyway, now we're going to talk about race relations. The Argon and Boron, they are allies with one another. And the Split and Paranid, they are, well, barely allies with one another. And the Teladi are neutral of everybody. But you don't really want to attack anybody in any other races in their sectors. Now the Argon and Paranid, they actually hate each other because they kind of have contradicting beliefs. And the Boron and Split, especially the Boron, they definitely the Boron definitely despises the Split, and the Boron, they're typically like a peaceful race, but the Boron absolutely despise the Split because the Split kind of took over some of their territories, and the Boron are trying to take them back. And also, it's been there's also like rumors or whatever, or speculations that the Split are kind of allied with the Xenon. And the Argon kind of don't like that the Split are kind of have like some sort of associations with the Xenon, but the Xenon and Split don't really tolerate one another. But those are kind of rumors. And then there's now let's go over and talk about this Gunner. Gunners are basically a group of Argon. Well, you see, this goes over and comes up to the backstory of the Argon. The Argon are basically the ancestors of the Argon about 700 years ago were actually from Earth. Oh, yeah, that also brings up the other thing, another race that's not even on here, the Terran, which their name's pretty self-explanatory. They are basically humans from Earth. But more on them later. The Argon, about 700 years ago, the Terran, well, they kind of screwed up. They tried to create, like, terraforming drones, and, well, something went horribly wrong, and the terraforming drones pretty much tried to attack them and tried to attempt to destroy Earth. Well, a colony ship, piloted by someone known as Nathan Argon, actually distracted the terraformers and have them go through one of those giant gates that we can see.
Drink Nostrum.
Great. Pass that on. Well, anyway, they go through the colony ship actually, and then the gate is pretty much bringing all those terraformers with them, pretty much saving Earth from annihilation, and the gate is destroyed. I don't know, either behind them or after they go through. Or ahead of them. I don't know. But eventually, the colony ship crashes onto a planet, a habitable planet known as Argon Prime. At the same time, that's pretty much when the Xenon was created. So yeah, that's the origins of the Argon and the Xenon. Summed up. Anyway, I already mentioned what the cock are. They are basically a warmongering hive race. And like the Xenon, they don't reason. And their ships are pretty much the individuals of their race. And Yaki, I don't really know much about their backstory. I haven't really played X2 and Reunion much, but again, think of them as like the Space Yakuza. I'm pretty sure they probably have. I'm pretty sure maybe like the Paranid or Argon might have caused like crimes to their people. Maybe at least at least it says that in like the Time of the Truth or something. But yeah, also yeah, the Gonar. The Gonar are basically Argon, a group of Argon that believe in the planet Earth. Oh, yeah. During the course of the 700 years, Earth was erased from the history books of the Argon. The Argon, kind of lost. Throughout the generations, Earth was erased from Argon's history books. The only ones that really still believed in Earth was the Gonar. And the Gonar kind of think of them as like, and Argon kind of think of the Gonar as like wild fanatics or whatever, but they don't really. They think of them as like crazy or whatnot. And then there's the Terran, which are not listed. Again, they are humans from Earth. They have really different structures than the ones we've been seeing. Their sectors are rather large, and are typically divided by transorbital accelerators. Although various mods actually change that to where they are actually gates, because transorbital accelerators cannot be jumped to. And Earth, at this current time, before Albion Prelude, is surrounded by a really large structure known as a torus. And it is heavily guarded, and it's basically a really major business place. Now, in Albion Prelude, an Argon spy destroys that structure, and that pretty much brings the Argon and Terran at war in Albion Prelude. Now, actually, the Terran are already a xenophobic race as it is. They kind of pretty much hate all the Commonwealth, including the Argon. Well, they are not openly hostile with all of them in Terran conflict, but in Albion Prelude, they are openly hostile with all the Commonwealth, especially the Argon. After the incident with the Taurus, especially, they're also at war with the Boron. I think maybe even the split and Paranid. I don't know about the Teladi though, but that's in Albion Prelude. which also brings up to another thing. The enhanced mod collection is basically Terran conflict and Albion. I mean, has all the Terran I mean, has like most of the Terran conflict. I mean, conflict plots, and as well as the Albion Prelude plots all in one. At least most of them. Most of those set plots. So yeah, and this is Albion Prelude. So right now there's currently probably no war going on with the Argon and Terran. But once we get to that certain point, there probably will be a war. They say that it'll be an optional war that'll happen in 2 sectors. At least that's what the mod info says. Translated, of course. But yeah, that's basically all the races, kind of in a nutshell, really. Oh yeah. I forgot about the ships. The Argon kind of have like well-rounded ships. All their ships are kind of well-rounded. They're still, I mean, they're all pretty decent, but they're kind of no thrills. Boron, well, a lot of their ships are pretty weak, but they have really kind of dangerous weapons like the Ion Disruptor and the Ion Cannon. The Ion Disruptor is pretty devastating to shields. It also is very, very, very devastating to ship extensions. You can destroy, as well as other equipment. You can destroy all sorts of equipment on ships with it. It can also be used to capture space flies, which, speaking of, we're going to the split, which actually use space flies to power their ships. Space flies, they are basically little tiny insect-like celestial creatures that fly around space. They are endangered. They are typically found in sectors that have Nevidium asteroids. And the split, they kind of overhunt these creatures to endangerment. As such, the creatures are a contraband. But in every race's sector besides the split. And the split, they kind of pay for them. I mean, buy the space flies as secondary resources at almost all their stations for kind of a pretty good penny. The Paranid have usually typically more shield. Oh yeah, we haven't finished talking about the split. The split are, again, they are an aggressive race. Their ships typically have more laser energy and are probably more faster than usual than most other ships in the X universe. But they typically have less shielding and less cargo. And then there's the Paranid. The Paranid typically have more shielding on their ships, but I think they have usually less laser energy than usual. But they have some really, really, really devastating capital ships. Capital ships that even rival the Terran capital ships. The Teladi, a lot of their ships look like they are basically rushly built. I mean, they don't look. I mean, their main focus. The Teladi's main focus is trading. I mean, they typically do maybe have like decent shielding on their ships, but again, the Teladi's a trade focus race. I mean, they do have some okay ships like the keas and whatnot, but there's hardly any trade restrictions with the Teladi. Like, for example, you can buy a lot of ware. You can buy every single ware from the Teladi. They have literally the only trade restrictions they have is stations and ships. Anyway, there's also the Gunner. The Gunner's a secondary race. Not really much to talk about them. Although they do have a plot, but we'll get into. I don't know if we'll be getting to that though. Then there's the Terran. The Terran have probably all the Terran ships are probably the most powerful ships in the game. But except for their corvettes. Their corvettes are garbage. they have the worst turret placement on their corvettes. And not only that, all their ships use their own specific weapons, so they are kind of limited in weaponry. But their weapons are typically pretty powerful. And all their ships are pretty fast and have pretty decent shielding. However, again, their corvettes, which is a ship that you're mostly going to be in, is terrible. There's not a single corvette they have that is good. I mean, all the other races have better corvettes than theirs. And of course, then there's the Xenon and all that. The Xenon, again, their ships are kind of well-rounded as well, but normally you can't really fly them. The Ka actually has pretty weak ships than probably has weaker ships than usual than compared to the other races. But they're not. But they're actually kind of living beings, really. The pirates. Well, the pirates actually use all the other races ships, but maybe with a different suffix like Vanguard or Raider and whatnot attached to them, which have various stats and limits to them. Ancient Rake, again, I don't really want to spoil that. I mean, they actually do, but the Ancients, okay, I ain't gonna spoil that right now. That'd be bad. The Yaki, they actually have some pretty decent ships, but the problem about them is that they kind of lack equipment docks. At least I don't know if they have any in, well, actually, they probably do in Time with Truth. But they do have some pretty decent ships. I think they actually have a pretty decent, I think they actually have a really decent TL and capital ships. But now, okay, back to race relations again. If you attack Argon with in like Paranid sectors and vice versa, you actually will gain notoriety. Like, for example, we actually killed a Paranid in the Argon sector previously, and that actually brought up a rank to 6. Now, the Boron and Split, and same for if you attack Boron and Split sectors and Split and Boron sectors, that will improve notoriety and their respected. Yeah, you get the idea. But the Teladi, you can't really attack any of the without any of these ships without losing notoriety with the Teladi and getting police after you. They're police after you. And yeah, all the sectors have police forces that will respond if their ally or if any of their ally races get attacked, or if their race ships get attacked. Okay, that pretty much covers up race relations and race relations. We'll probably go over and try to see if we can improve our notoriety with the Xenon. We're gonna cut off right now. Oh, what was that noise?
Xenon P.
Well, we're gonna cut off right now, and we're gonna go over and try to improve our relations with the Xenon in hopes that we can actually activate this CPU plot. See you again soon.